The West Tigers podcast is brought to you by the West Tigers Podcast Forum. Have your say on anything to do with the West Tigers, westtigerspodcast.com.au. It's the West Tigers podcast, and unfortunately not a post-victory edition of the podcast. We scored 24 points again. That's 2 times in a row, but once again couldn't get the win. And sometimes, or quite often actually, 24 points is enough to win a game of NRL, but that hasn't been the last 2 weeks. Succumbing to the Broncos 46-24 at Suncorp Stadium on Saturday night. A little bit of a rejigged, that kind of is appropriate, a little bit of a rejigged Sunday night team, because the West Tigers were a little bit rejigged. Gary's not with us. Declan has come in off the bench. He's our Tony Suka. He's coming in off the bench and looking to make an impression. We'll talk about Tony shortly. Nick is here. Nick, of course, a regular on Sunday night. I'll start with you, Nick. One word. Do you have one word ready to go for the performance against the Broncos?
My one word's really tough this week. I'm going to say youth, but that's pretty obvious. But I think it's really important to point out how young our side is. And I know that I think it was the Fox coverage made a very good point at the start of the game, highlighting the experience that the Broncos halves had before the game started and comparing it to the inexperience that the Tigers had. That's a massive one. And it's not just the youthfulness of our halves, but you look at our entire backline, like Jareem's only young. How's Jareem? Is he 19 or 20? Or he's not much older than
22.
22, okay. Luke Laulilii, so he's 18 years old. I think I heard the commentator say he's the youngest player in the NRL at the moment,
which
is incredible. And he scored a try, and I was really excited to watch Luke play on the weekends, and and he stood up and showed that he is an NRL player. But I think we've just got to remember how young our team is. We're all disappointed that we lost, and I did see a lot of negative comments, unfortunately, on social media after the game, saying it's back to the same old Tigers. But I really don't think that's true. I just want everyone to be a little bit patient with the fact that we are a developing team. We're still very young across a lot of core positions, and there is some brighter times ahead. But we're showing a lot of potential there, but it's just going to take a little while.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that for so many years, one of the most frustrating things about the Tigers has been we've never really gotten out of first or second gear in terms of the rebuild. But I really do truly think that we are starting to hit like third, fourth gear in terms of the fact that, yes, like if you look at the wins and losses, we're 2 and 3, which is like quite standard compared to like other seasons. But if you actually look at the actual performances, like 2 of those games we only lost by 2 points, and we probably should have won both of them. So I think the actual like average performance has just risen like quite significantly to the point where we're being competitive in pretty much every game we've played. Like even in the Broncos game, like I was just so like excited going into halftime because we were playing against like a genuine top 4 team, and we were matching it with them. And yes, like obviously it all fell apart in the second half. But I just like there's just so many like positives and so many good signs I'm seeing compared to the last 3 seasons that I just haven't seen in like a really long time, to be honest. So yeah, it's good to see.
So what have you got for us in terms of one word?
I think my one word is a bit perplexed, and I'm a bit perplexed as to how I should like take in the win, because as I've said, like, I was so happy with that first half, and then I thought we played really well. Not just our attack, but our physicality was great. We were like smashing the Broncos, especially with, like in defence. Like I think that was Payne Haas's most quiet game to start the year. I think we did the best job of anyone the Broncos have played this year to keep him quiet. Pat Carrigan, he started to play really well in the second half, but we kept him quiet. But then, like the second half, like such a good first half, and then the second half, 2 plays by the Broncos and it's over. And then I think that we played quite well. Then we still conceded 46 points. So I just don't really know how much we can really take away from that particular performance. So yeah, it's a tough one. And I genuinely think, I know it, obviously we weren't really ever close to winning, but then if you look at, they had I think that Cobo try was off a forward pass. I think the Jesse Arthur's try, he didn't ground the ball. Laulilii dropped the ball over the line. Like Royce's Hunt try that got taken off of us as well. Like just these like kind of small swings of points. It could have been a lot closer than it actually was. So it's just it's a frustrating one. So I don't really know. Like because with the Warriors game, I was like, I think we probably deserved to win that one. But then with the Broncos, they're just such a good attacking team. It's kind of it's a tough one to kind of like where you put it in terms of if we were really, really good or we were disappointed in the second half.
And if we could have kicked a goal in that first half too, another 6 points would have made a little bit of a difference to the flow of the game as well. The one-word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum, Tiger Town SFS, refed, as in refed out of the game. We'll talk about the referee shortly. Mike's word was outclassed. Dirty Reds' word was 20. 20 points conceded either side of halftime killed us, correct? Peter A., their word was coached, saying we did have a game plan to beat the Broncos and we did a pretty good job of executing it. Boon Boon's word was impressive. We have a genuine team this year, and Boon Boon's still tipping we're going to make the top 8. Natmac 78, luck. We never seem to get any. Tiger Tragic 56, reality, which I think maybe... Is Eddie Tiger Tragic 56? Like that sounds like that would have been Eddie's word tonight if he was with us. Tiger Tun's word is tears. I like this. Not that we're in tears, but we're a tier 3 team trying to reach tier number 2, and we were playing a team that's a first tier team, and I like that, Tiger Tun. It leads me a little bit into Richo's meter that we'll have a look at as well. Mercy Rule's word was relief. They didn't hit 50, and that means we can still win the premiership. Plunder Monkey's word was unflattering, the scoreline that is. Lorenzo said Jerome. We needed his presence on field at different times. And Gary Watson, his word was game plan, and he said that I could actually see that we had one. So he gave Benji a bit of a rap there, saying that we looked like a pretty well-coached team. I've got a few. Declan's already mentioned physicality, although I must say, Declan, that I do have a trademark on that, so... you're not allowed to use that again without paying me some money. Physicality, yeah, like I thought we did pretty well. Like I agree with you. Did better than I thought we were going to do, but still a little bit, we were a little bit fragile at different times, I thought, and it was more so our backs. Those big Broncos backs sort of muscled us a little bit and won the collision quite a lot, but I thought we did better. Body shape's still not quite right, in my opinion, Declan.
Yeah, I think that was the big difference for me. I haven't went back and watched the game, but I think in the first half, we were really, like, our line speed was great, and we were really stopping the Broncos from meeting that advantage line. Like, except for, like, I think their first try from Jesse Arthur where Latu Fainu kicked the ball dead. They had that 7 tackle set, and then they went on to march. Other than that, for, like, pretty much the whole first half, I thought we were really matching it and taking it to them, and that stopped the Broncos from meeting the gain line, which meant they couldn't really bring in their backs to it. But then, like, the 5 minutes before halftime, and then like a big period of the second half, we started to lose that physical battle, and that's what allowed the Broncos to use that good ball, start shifting, and then they're just such a classy team. Like one of the guys said in the forum, like they're a tier 1 team, and they've got talent kind of all around the park. There's plenty of guys that can break you open, and unfortunately, it didn't really take much. But like 2 quick tries after halftime, and the game was pretty much over, unfortunately.
I want to have a look just at some positives. I'll just have a look at these other one words that I've got written down. I've got possession, and possession equals points. We had lots of possession in the first half. We managed to score some points, not enough points, and then that possession swung around, and the Broncos had that ability in that class to be able to finish it off, albeit with a couple of very late tackle penalties and 6 agains, which really hurt. I've got experience as my one word, if I had to pick it, and that is the experience and the difference. You referenced it earlier. Our halves, around 35 games combined. The Broncos, over 600 games combined. So experience is what comes to mind. No Jerome Luai Nick. Losing Latu Fainu during the game. And a massive difference in that experience in terms of the halves, I think, was the crucial difference. I think it was Reynolds, the 40-20, the 2-point field goal, just little parts of the game. Of course, his great chip and chase try. Like, that was the difference, I think, in the end, was just that ability without Luai there to do what was needed to do in those moments to swing the game their way.
Yeah, we were kind of buried in about a 7-minute window. So that last couple before halftime, and then the first 4 or 5 minutes after halftime. So yeah, it was all Adam Reynolds too. That 2-point field goal. So it's easy to think about ifs and buts, but if we had have kicked those 3 conversions in the first half, and it was 18-6 instead of 12-6 just before the Broncos scored that try, that gives us a little bit more of a buffer. And then if we had been up by those extra goals, does Adam Reynolds go for a 40-metre field goal before halftime? Probably not. They'd probably push for a try. So it's just little moments. And does it come down to a bit more experience in the team and a bit of inexperience in our team, leading to the way that those moments kind of sway? Possibly. There's just so much more room for development in our team, which is why I'm holding on to a bit more hope than what I know Eddie's holding on to. And I just don't want to let the one-word sort of segment go without mentioning Eddie's one word. And Eddie's one word was fairies. And his reason, he didn't really give a reason for his one word of fairies, but it's quite obvious. He believes, and he did kind of lead into a little line here. He said, some of our podcasters believe in the fairies. And if you read between the lines, the majority of us on this podcast team obviously can see the potential in the squad and see what this team can do across the rest of this season. Whether that's make the finals or not, there's a lot more potential in this team than there has been in the last few years, which is why I'm very hopeful that, and I know I did say that my prediction at the start of the year a few weeks ago was we'll come 7th. I had a couple of, what ifs or conditions in that, I suppose. I did kind of think we need a little bit of a rub of the green to go away. Now, we've already lost 2 games by 2 points, and they're the results that in the past have come back to bite us. And to be honest, they're probably going to come back to bite us again this year, which is already putting us a bit behind the 8 ball. I don't think many of us were confident that we were going to beat the Broncos on the weekend. We gave it a pretty good crack, especially that first half. I think our performance outshone what I expected it to be. It was better than what I thought it would be. But Eddie, I don't believe in a tooth fairy anymore. I think my kids have all given up on the belief of the tooth fairy. But, mate, honestly, just chillax a little bit. Just give us all a little bit of hope. And Declan, I mean, you're in the group chat, right? And you know what Eddie's like during a game. It is so negative. It just, from the kickoff, from the first few minutes, if we're getting dominated in the first set, it's just Eddie just rubbing our noses into the ground saying, we're gone, we're going to lose by 50. It just sets his mind the wrong way. Like, it's just so hard to cope with.
It is. I've had to put the group chat on mute now. I don't read it anymore. But yeah, I think Eddie's described himself as a glass half empty kind of person. I think that's just putting it lightly. But yeah, Joel, I think we should probably start every podcast just with Eddie with a positive affirmation for him, just to build up that positive mindset, because I think he kind of needs it at this point.
100% he does. He certainly, sometimes the Eddie that we hear on the pod is not necessarily the Eddie that we see in real life, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think anybody would want to listen to negative Eddie all of the time. I am going to be positive. I'm going to swing it back the other way. I'm going to say for 38 minutes, Declan, I thought the West Tigers played their best football of the year so far. And it has to be taken in the context of we're missing Skelton, who's a really important part of our team, missing Jerome Luai, missing Samuela Fainu. There's some big outs there. And I thought for 38 minutes, we matched it. And if you look at the overall stats for the game across 80 minutes, we pretty much matched them across everything, post-contact meters, everything. I know it's a loss, and I know it hurts, and I know it sucks, but I think there's some positives. I think a little bit of a corner has been turned.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of positives, and I'm seeing a lot of talk about how the Broncos they didn't really get out of first gear that first half, but I think that was down to us. I think we kind of ambushed them a little bit. The fact that our line speed was really good. In defence, we were up in them. Our kick chase was really good again. Like, we were contesting everything. I think that put them off as well. They scored. I know they did score some tries out wide, but they didn't really. I think we managed to shut them down pretty well. and then we managed to crack them as well when we got the ball. And that's why it was such a frustrating game overall as well, because whenever we got like a pretty good flow of possession, we did score tries or we went over the line. We didn't always, like, a lot of them weren't confirmed, but like we did look threatening. So I agree with you. I think there is, like, overall, once like you kind of take the emotion out of it and look a little bit deeper than the scoreboard, I think there are a lot of positives. And yeah, with Luai coming back, hopefully we get Samuela Fainu back soon, and then Skelton as well. And I agree with Nick. I thought that Laulilii, he's definitely got a bit of class about him. Like, he's only 18 years old, so I really would be interested in having a conversation about how we can fit him into the first grade team, whether if it's trying to transition him to maybe centre or maybe like not sure. Like, because I think that Skelton and Taruva, like, I'm really happy with how they're going on the wings at the moment. But I think Laulilii's just got that class that we just need to find a spot for him somewhere.
He's good for 18, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he runs the ball so hard. He's got no fear. I'm glad that he managed to keep his head out of any impact zones, from that Friday night game. But he's a good young kid. But I mean, there's so many positives to take out of the game. Losing Samuela was big before the game. Jack Bird moving from the bench into the second row. I don't think he's a second rower. Gary's always banging on about the impact that Jack brings from off the bench, and we didn't have that. Tony Sukar, I know he's not probably in our preferred top 17 listed players, but I thought he did a pretty good job coming into the off the bench anyway, or into the team in Samuela's absence. So, and obviously, as you said, Joel, losing Latu fairly early in the second half cost us pretty dearly, because I thought Latu the last couple of weeks, I know he started on the weekend compared to coming off the bench the previous week, but I thought he was starting to probably grow a little bit more confidence. I'm not sure whether that ties back to the way he's feeling physically. Hopefully his injuries are past him now, but I thought he's starting to dominate the play a little bit more rather than just feeding it off to Lockie. So there's a lot of good stuff. I think it's funny, isn't it? Off the back of a 22-point loss, it hurt, but it doesn't hurt as a lot of other losses over the last few seasons have hurt.
Yeah, I think with Laulilii as well, how good was he under the high ball?
Yeah.
Because they really tested him a few times and they got numbers around him, but it looks like he's really developed that skill, because I know, like, seeing him coming through the juniors and, like, playing a little bit of first grade, he definitely had a drop in him every now and again, so it's really good to see him get that kind of, that skill. Hopefully, like, it continues and, like, he's shown that, like, his hands are really reliable, because that's just so important with playing wing. With Fainu, Nick, I think it's really interesting, because his best games, I think his worst games is when he has to play that 7 role and he kind of has to, like, manage the team. But then, like, his highlights and when he's playing really well, I think it's just when he plays, like, off the cuff and he's not really thinking about kind of organising anyone else, because you saw in this game, like, I don't think that's really his strong. So I think he's more of just a ball runner. So I think, like, going forward, I agree with Benji. I think he needs to be in the team somewhere. I'm not too sure, because I think having him and Jack Bird, if you move on to play that kind of middle playmaker role, I don't think you can have both of them in the squad at the same time, because I don't think Jack Bird showed that he could play second row to that, like, quality that we need. But yeah, I would love to see Fainu more in that kind of just, like, run the ball, not much responsibility for organising the attack, and then just defend, because I think he could really, like, add a lot to the team that way.
There's a few things that come to mind, just thinking about that next game. Like, we've scored 24 points, and I know it's not going to mean anything when the game is played, but we've scored 24 points the last 2 games. We held the Knights to 10 points in the first round, and they've been held to 0 tonight. So, there's some reasons, I think, to be optimistic. I think it's a massive game, this game against the Knights, and if we win that, I think that's going to be such a big contributor to, or if we lose it, as to where we go or where we don't go this year. So, an important one. I've spoken to Yachty about this, and I've got Yachty on the job, because Yachty loves this kind of thing. I don't remember a team ever having 3 different goal kickers in one half of football. Do you remember? Because some teams will go a whole year with nobody but one goal kicker. We had 3 in one half of football, Nick. Do you ever remember a team having 3 goal kickers in one half of football?
No, I don't. And my question also is, Adam Dewey played the entire game, but he took 1 shot and missed it. I'm assuming he wasn't kicking from the start because maybe he was a little bit ginger from returning from
groin
injury. But it was interesting that he took that shot. So, and he had the one shot and missed, and then didn't kick again. So that kind of confused me a little bit. But no, I don't remember the last time we had 3 kickers. It's a lot, and it did hurt. It wouldn't have changed the game. We still lost by 22, but as we're saying, there were certain moments like we missed 3 conversions in the first half, and had we have it's always a what if, but had we have kicked those 3 conversions and we're up by a fair bit more, and the pressure sways the other way, so. It's just one of those games. It didn't pan out that way, but Adam Dewey, right? He's playing in the centres, and he's very versatile. I know when Latu came off, he seemed to move a little bit more infield and was playing a bit more in the halves, but and he didn't look bad either. He's got such good skills, Adam Dewey. He's an interesting one because probably a few people would want to offload him fairly quickly, but I think he's got a lot of asset value Adam Dewey in the team. So,
yeah, well, we may have to a degree been better off playing Dewey in the halves and not using Latu Fainu and not messing around so much with the bench rotations, perhaps. But it's a hard one. And this has always been the fear of this team this year: is what happens when we have a few players that start to get injured. Just further on, just thinking about that whole 3 kickers in one half of football, and 2 of them are forwards. That has to be a new record in rugby league. I'm sure that's the case. We'll talk about a couple of not so positive things, but Declan, I was going to ask you the clash between Terrell May and Payne Haas. I thought it probably ended up pretty close, sort of. I don't think either got on top of the other. I thought that Terrell did very well against who people would consider the best prop in the game.
Yeah, I actually thought that Haas was pretty quiet this game. Maybe it's because when you think of Payne Haas, he's got such high he really does set the bar high in terms of what you expect from him in a game. But I thought Terrell May was probably a bit more consistent, more on the ball, defensively looked better as well. So yeah, I think that I'm obviously biased because I'm a Tigers fan, but I thought that Terrell had it over him a little bit. I reckon if it was a boxing match, I would have given it to Terrell on points, to be honest. But yeah, I think Carrigan, he definitely, with his skill and just his ball play before the line, I think that he probably played better than Haas did from the Broncos perspective. But obviously we're not a Broncos podcast, so we're not going to go into that. But yeah, I thought Terrell just showed that he's up there with those quality middles who do play Origin regularly. So I think that at the start of the year, I would have thought that it might be a bit ambitious for Terrell May to be in that Origin starting team. But I think that it's becoming more and more likely every week now, I reckon.
Yeah, well, if the Blues pick those 2, certainly, Haas is a special, but you think they'd make a pretty good combination for New South Wales, Declan?
And you just you get the sense that there's a bit of ball playing to Terrell May as well that we just haven't quite unlocked yet.
Yeah.
You can kind of just see him, the way he holds the ball, he kind of goes to pass, and then he kind of pulls out a little bit. I think that it's something that the coaching staff could really try and bring out of him in the next few years, hopefully, just that ability to pass before the line, to throw deep, stuff like that. I reckon he's got it in him, and if he can just improve on that while keeping these amazing base stats that he's doing at the moment, then yeah, he could be. Well, he already has one of the best props in the game. So
he's not the wrecking ball prop, is he, Terrell May? He's not built that way. He's a lot more athletic, which is obviously why he's getting so many more minutes out of the game. Did Terrell play 80 minutes on Saturday night?
No, he must have played
far off.
He did play 80. He did come off. I think he would have played his normal amount. So I remember he came off. Then Alex Crowell came on and then he dropped the ball.
On the first tackle. Geez, that hurt. Poor Twally. I actually think Twally's been playing pretty well, but that was another moment, a tough moment. Unfortunately, that it was just the way that the game was flowing at the moment. For Twally, but Terrell, he wouldn't be out of place in the Blues jersey. He's not that impactful sort of prop that's, I guess, like Payne Haas is, but he's definitely got something in his game. It's to our benefit this season. I'm loving watching him play every week.
For me, as a prop, the thing I like about him, his quality and his intensity of his runs don't ever really stop. He'll come at you just as hard the 10th time as he did the first time. Like, he's really consistent that way. And that's kind of what you're saying. He's not really like the kind of Royce Hunt where he's going to run over people and then like kind of get gassed. He's going to be really super consistent. And I think from an Origin level, that's just so important, just to keep up that high quality like the entire time. Because I think that Warriors almost try that he drops, I think that's the perfect example of like whether he's not like super explosive that way. The fact that he's super consistent in his runs meant that he was good enough to get over the line and nearly get that ball down. And I think that's just like why he's just so impressive, because it's just his quality is really consistent throughout all the minutes he's playing in the middle.
I gave him a big rap last week, but Sunia Turuva is fast becoming one of my favourite, like if not my favourite player. I love the way he plays. I love the way he talks. He seems to be a leader out there on the field. Defensively, he is, I think it's 6 tries now, Nick, which is right up the top of the ladder of the try scoring charts. He's just been phenomenal. He's great to watch, isn't he? I just can't speak highly enough of what he's contributing to the team.
And his efforts haven't dwindled either week to week. He's maintaining that high standard. I remember when Justin Olam came to us from the Storm, the first sort of 2 or 3 games that he played for us, he looked like a Melbourne player playing in a West Tigers jersey. And then he kind of tapered off. And that may have been a little bit to do with his injuries. But Turuva looks like a Panthers player every week playing in the Tigers jersey, which is amazing to see. And one of my mates messaged me during the game, and he said exactly the same thing what you just said, Joel. He said Turuva is becoming my favourite player. He's just incredible, and his attitude's brilliant. He's such a great finisher. And I know that Gary mentioned during the game on Saturday on our group chat when Turuva scored that try off the Buller pass when the Broncos went for the long dropout, and they tried to find touch up near the halfway line. We scored that 50-metre try, which was amazing to watch. But he said that Buller nearly ruined that try, or bombed the try, and he was correct, because Buller made that great break after a couple of passes. But he probably should have drawn and passed a little bit better than what he did. He kind of just threw the ball as soon as he saw Turuva outside of him and said, "Okay, well, away you go, Sunia. It's up to you." But Turuva still had that great finishing quality to be able to score that try. Whereas, others may not have been able to. But, yeah, he's a great player, especially for his size. He's not a big boy, but, geez, he's a good footballer.
What did we make of Lachlan Galvin's game, Declan? It seems to be the same every week, and that there's some really, and I guess it's a young player. He's played, 20 games, and so you cut him some slack for sure, absolutely. Really classy moments. The early kicks, the short kicking game was really good. But he's still, and I know this is a hard game to say that he should have, because we were up against it, playing one of the top teams in the competition. But what did you make of Galvin's game? A little bit scratchy in that second half, I thought. I don't know if he'd kind of lost his mojo a bit without Fainu there, and maybe, it just didn't work for him in that second half.
Yeah, I thought overall he was really good. I think he had that try assist for Laulilii. He had a few goal line dropouts as well. I think with me, Galvin, I think he's still kind of finding his feet on like what to do in broken field, unstructured footy, because he kind of doesn't, like, he's not as much of an athlete as someone like Latu Fainu, where you can kind of see that with someone like Fainu, instinct naturally kind of comes in, and he's got the ability to like break the line that way. I think with Galvin, I think he definitely can like turn into that, but he just needs to get a little bit stronger in the upper body. I think when he starts being able to like pan people up, I think the game will open up a lot more for him in unstructured play. So I thought he played like well, considering the fact that like he was the senior half, against the Broncos. That's a big ask to play against someone like Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt. And I thought, in terms of an actual structure, like obviously I wasn't there, so I wasn't sure who was like play calling and everything. But I thought our structure for 60 minutes was really, really good. But then I think Benji alluded to it in the press conference that when we started to chase those points, started doing things out of our structure, started making mistakes, and we did look a little bit lost. And I think that's where a lot of our kind of our worst errors kind of came into play when we were kind of chasing points, not really sticking to our structures. And I think Galvin And well, obviously, like Galvin, because Fainu was off at that point, but he probably could have done a better job of like keeping us straight. But again, like that's probably me just nitpicking and probably expecting too much of a younger player who's probably not at that stage in their career yet. And I think that's what you said. That's probably where we really miss Luai, just to keep us like going in the right direction. And it's also tough as well because like when the Broncos went like 12 or 14 points ahead, like it was always going to be like a really tough gig to try and to claw that back. Like we would have had to be almost perfect. So I'm not going to like criticize the team too much for kind of chasing the game and, you know, like falling apart a little bit in structure, because I think the effort was there, which is probably what you want to see, even though we did concede 46 points. So that sounds strange saying that loud, but I think it's true to a degree.
Yeah.
A couple of points there are huge, Declan. So, you know, like you said, with Luai out, you know, we started with a couple of teenage halves, and we lost Latu early in the second half. So, you know, instantly, you know, Lockie's on his own, right? He's got Appy out there with him and Jack Bird, but, you know, he doesn't have Jerome. And he's only played a couple of games with Jerome too, so we've got to remember that as well. And Jerome's young, you know, we're 22, right? So, you know, there's so much youth out in that field. We've already spoken about Luke Laulilii, and he's 18 years old as well, but what I like about Lockie, though, is, maybe he lost his way just a little bit, but I love how he backs himself. And like you said, Joel, his short kicking game is incredible. Like, he managed to put a couple of try assists on with some really early kicks. One of them, I think we scored a try. That one he kicked to Luke was off, I think, on the first tackle.
First tackle, yeah. We got a six again, I think, and yeah.
Yeah, he did. But it takes a lot of balls to be able to do something like that. And I'm sure Benji's backing him and telling him to, you know, play what you see, right? Because that's how Benji played. And I love seeing that. And I love how Lockie's not afraid to do that. And I don't want him to stop either. Because it does scare me a little bit when I see the tackle count and see the first or the second Lockie's putting a kick in behind the line. But more often than not, we're getting a result, whether it's a try or whether he's forcing a goal line dropout. Like, this is the stuff that we haven't been able to do over the last however many years. So it's exciting to have someone that young who can see something in front of him that quickly and be able to back himself. And he's got players around him who know what he's going to do as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of good times coming. It's so hard after 13 years of failure to be patient, to tell people to be patient. And I know that we've got a lot of impatient fans, and I'm impatient too, and I've said that before, but, you know, this week will be different. Last week against the Broncos, Saturday was always going to be a challenge. I think the Broncos outclassed us in the end, and that was always going to be the concern. But I don't think 22 points was a fair deficit. I think we're in that game for a lot longer than what the scoreboard shows.
I just like quick fact check. Bill is 23, so just in case there's someone listening to the podcast who's just saying that we got it wrong. Yeah, he's 23.
I wanted to retire.
I wanted to talk about Buller, and I don't mean to nitpick. I think, Declan, you said nitpicking a minute ago in regards to something else, but channeling my inner Eddie, Buller's positional play in defence at times had me worried. I don't think that was his best game in defence. The rest of his game, very good. No complaints at all, but defensively, I think a couple of times that first try for the Broncos, where I think they scored off a kick from memory, and the Reynolds try, a couple of times I just thought he wasn't in the right spot.
That probably didn't stick out to me as much because I think the Arthur's try was off a 7-tackle set, and like I'd have to watch it again to see like where Buller was tracking, but I think that was just like a good kick. I think with the Reynolds one, that was just, I think I said it in the group chat, that bounce could not have went any worse for us than anywhere of him. It literally like looked like it magnetized to Adam Reynolds' chest, where like Buller was like actually pretty close, and if it even just bounced neutrally, you would kind of just back Buller with the bigger body to win it off of someone like Adam Reynolds. But like I don't know if it was like skill or luck, probably more skill because Adam Reynolds has been doing that for a while. So like he got caught out there a little bit. I suppose like if I was being hypercritical, you would maybe like to think that some of the second rowers from our line would track back as well for the kick. But I think it might have been Sukkar there, so that's maybe me nitpicking again. But I think for like the top tier defensive teams, you will see those like second row edge players or the props make that extra effort. But yeah, I think Bulla, just overall, like defensively he hasn't been like he came into first grade with such like, and he set the bar really high for himself. Like his defense was his best attribute, and like so it's kind of we're a bit surprised when we see like the tries like the Warriors scored where he gets stepped, he doesn't manage to make the tackle. I think he missed 2 tackles that like we probably would have backed him to make last week, and I suppose it's kind of the same for this game as well. But yeah, I'm not sure. I suppose the good thing is like he's improving attacking wise, which we were all kind of like praying would happen. I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far. But yeah, hopefully he still like continues to develop that kind of defensive part, because I think you just need that. It's just bread and butter in terms of like being a fullback. But I think if you like, it's interesting because like we all agree that Reece Walsh is a superstar and like a top tier fullback. But if you look at Bulla's stats, I would say that like he outperformed Walsh. If it wasn't for that one cut pass that Walsh like threw for one of their tries, I would say he like comfortably played better than Reece Walsh did. So it's an interesting one. I know Eddie's not going to like that, and I'm going to hear about it, but I think it's true. Like
Eddie will flame me, but I wouldn't swap Buller for Reece Walsh.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Reece Walsh is just like he's just bursting with talent. There's like nothing on the footy field that he can't do, but at the same time, like can he do it when he counts most? That's the thing. And I'm not sure I'd go as far as you. Like if the Broncos were offering us Reece Walsh tomorrow, I'm not sure I would be saying no, but I get the point. And I think that like if Reece Walsh had Bulla's stats, it'd be interesting to see how the rugby league community would react to that, because you know obviously Reece Walsh is a bit of a better known name, and so yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that Bulla, I don't know, like he's obviously I think he's getting the credit from Tigers fans, but I think the coaching staff and him, I think they deserve a lot of credit for just how much he's bounced back from last year, particularly in attack. But you know, obviously he's not the finished product yet, and like we still expect him to like grow more, because he's going to be on. I think he's on quite a lot of money for us at the moment. He's got that weird contract where we can take up an option for him on $900K or something like that. So that's a lot of money to pay for a fullback. So like he's going to need to keep on improving if he's going to be worth that money for us. So that's going to be one to watch, I reckon. And he's also managed by Isaac Moses, so so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and if you're going to get picked apart by any team as a young, relatively inexperienced fullback, it's going to be the Broncos. You know, we spoke about earlier how the experience that their halves had, their experience as a team in general, and how how good they are across the park. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold that against Jareem. He may have been off in a couple of little defensive areas there, but he's still got a hell of a lot of value in him. So I'm glad we've got our number one. I wouldn't pick anyone else in front of him.
Maybe Ray Inglis.
Not from within our squad anyway. He's got a number one jersey.
Yeah. You know, Sheens used to say you're not a first grader till you play 50 games. If I quickly do the math on that team that we fielded, half that team hasn't played 50 games yet. So I think they should be commended. And I know that we didn't get the result. We're disappointed by that. And it was, it would have been a lovely 2 points obviously to get, but you have to put it in the context of who we were playing, where we were playing them, and the fact that we have an already inexperienced team, and we were missing a significant chunk of experience, including our star player. And that all needs to be taken into account. Albeit, I still think we need to fix the problem of winning that collision more. I still think that's the blindingly obvious problem with the team, and what keeps us around mid-table, hopefully, touch wood, Declan.
Sorry, Joel. I think you're just being too positive. Eddie's not going to like that. You're going to get a direct message tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I'm a fairy, obviously. Yeah. See, here's my wings flapping. Yeah. But the thing is, if you go back to 05, if you go back to late 04, you could start to see some glimpses. You could start to see that even though we weren't necessarily winning in 05, early in 05, we weren't necessarily always getting the 2 points, but something was different about the team. And there's something different about this team as compared to last year and the year before. Last year and the year before would have ended up 50 points to 6 or something like that. We would have come out, had a go, got blown off the park. We're in that game for a lot longer than the team of 12 months or 2 years ago were, and that gives us heart. And I haven't seen, touch wood, in our 5 games, I haven't seen a large chunk of play from the West Tigers that's had me worried. Like we've had a few iffy moments and not so great moments, but remember last week, Nick, the word was trending. I think we're trending in the right way, which I'm going to bring Richo's meter in a minute, Declan.
Yeah, I think the only concern for me is that we keep playing this like heartening footy, but we just don't get the results. Because I saw a few times last season where we would try really, really hard, we played really well, but we just didn't get that confidence boost or that result to then continue the run or the effort.
Yeah, but you can go the other way and you can say that, and I 100% agree, like you put that effort in, you get nothing, the wheels fall off, you lose heart. But it can also build in a team that's got natural ability. It can build that steel within them as well. So I'm being a little bit more optimistic there for sure, but I don't think this team, unless something goes tragically wrong, I don't see that happening. I think we're going to hang in there for at least a lot longer than we have the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think as well having like more senior players as well helps a lot. Like having someone like Luai there, hopefully, obviously he's not best known for his temperament, but he seems to be like a really good personality in the locker room to like keep everyone together. Like, Appy's really calm head, and you've got guys like Jack Bard, Boys Hunt, Terrell May. So hopefully they kind of keep everyone together. And I think we will drag wins, and then it'll be a natural progression of like confidence, and then that's where it'll come from. But yeah, it's just something to consider, because I do think we had these kind of, not these performances, but we did show patches of playing really well. And then you just felt so bad because, if this one thing changed, or like if we got this one win here, could that have like had a domino effect? But it just kind of never happened. And then we went on that like terrible 10-game losing streak, and then our season was over. So, but I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it'll happen this year.
We've got to beat the Knights.
In terms of being challenged, I don't think we're going to get a better challenge than what we got, in Brisbane against Brisbane this season. Like, I look at the teams that are, up the top, and I was having a chat with my neighbour this afternoon. I reckon there's only 3 or 4 teams that can really challenge for the competition this season. It's not us.
If that, yeah.
If that, yeah, you're right. I'm still hoping we might be able to scrape somewhere around mid-table and maybe sneak into the 8, but that may be a challenge. I'm hoping that the fairies, are blowing a bit of fairy dust our way and giving us a bit of luck where we need it. But, that game on Saturday, that's as hard as it's going to get. And we did give a good account of ourselves. We lost by 22, but, it could have been less. So I don't think it could have been more. I really thought we had a good dig.
So if we look at it through the lens of Richo's meter, so awful, poor, average, good, and great, I would suggest that we were above average to good in the first 38 minutes. And then mostly average. I don't think we ever really got to poor in that whole game.
No.
What do you guys think?
I don't think we got to poor. What I was proud of, actually, is even though we were kind of getting blown away for that sort of third 20-minute period, we didn't give up, and we still finished, relatively strongly. I think we scored. Did we score last? Anyway, we scored late to kind of claw it back a little bit, but they didn't give up. And it's funny because the camera kept cutting towards Benji on the sideline, and Benji rides the wave of emotions, right? Like he obviously, bleeds West Tigers, but you could see every time we, if we dropped the ball on the first, or, if we didn't, manage to, consolidate an attacking move or something, was written all over Benji's face. But, we definitely weren't poor. Maybe there was a patch there where we were getting outplayed and outclassed, but, I'm just proud of the way the boys hung in. This week's another challenge. Newcastle coming off a pretty reasonable defeat, 20-0, so they got hammered, but to score no points, that's a pretty resounding defeat today against a pretty hot Dogs team at the moment. So they're going to be pretty desperate to beat us again. And we didn't go too far off in round 1 at Campbelltown, but this week's another challenge. I'm hoping Jerome's back, especially come Tuesday when the team's announced, but he's going to be a massive inclusion. How far away is Jarrell Skelton? Do we have any idea?
Pretty close, apparently, and Jerome Luai, by all accounts, is going to be back, and because he had the 1-game suspension, but apparently he's right to go. And you would think Samuela Fainu would be right to go, given that he was named last week and was a late withdrawal. So we could get some troops back for this game. Brent Naden also back in the picture, although I don't know how we'd go in terms of where you'd pick him, because you've got to keep doing in there. And Toa didn't do anything wrong. I thought he had quite a good game. For the record, he did score that last try. And he did well in that earlier try as well. I liked some of our tries as well. I thought we did really well. And a shout out to Samuela Fainu, who scored that really good try as well, using his footwork and determination at the line. I think that's... Did you give your thought on the meter, Declan?
I thought the first half was the best we've played all year. Probably more because it was against someone who's definitely going to be pushing for that top 4 spot this year, because I think that was a criticism of even though we'd won games, the Dolphins probably aren't going to do much this season. The Eagles sure as hell aren't going to do much this season. But then the Warriors, probably not they might make the top 8, but that's probably as far as they're going to go. Knights, I'm probably a little bit higher on them, but not pushing that top echelon of team. So the Broncos was the kind of first actual proper comparison we have to a genuine Premiership contender. And I thought the first half we just absolutely we did amazing. It was an A+, but you can't really say we were really, really good. And then conceded 46 points, because that's just unfortunately it's a results driven business. So I would say average, but fantastic in the first half, but then kind of just below average in the second, so it kind of averages out to just average. Averages out to average. Yeah,
a good C. A good C.
Exactly.
A well-earned C.
The Knights have the wood on the West Tigers, just another of the teams that have the wood on the West Tigers in recent years, but I'd really like to get one back against the Newcastle Knights this weekend. There's no real other news around, but I will ask you guys, Charlie Staines missed out again on selection. I don't believe played in New South Wales Cup. Is it the end of the road for Charlie, do you think, Nick? It just seems to be that that's the case.
It's a bit David Clemmer-like, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Not being included in the NRL squad, not being picked for reserves. Yeah, it does sound like. And I've heard a couple of rumours, I guess from within the forum and a few people that Charlie's potentially on his way out the door. So sad. He's always played with his heart in his sleeve, Charlie, and I do like him as a footballer. He reminds me a little bit of Corey Thompson, the way that he plays his footy, but. Yeah, just I guess in this day and age, and I guess the team that we're trying to put together, and our backline that we're trying to put together, and especially as Gary keeps banging on about the kick returns and those run meters, while he tries his heart out, he hits the line and sort of gets buckled back and doesn't make any post-contact meters. So, I love you, Charlie. I wish you all the best in your future, but sadly, it doesn't sound like it's at the Tigers anymore.
Yeah, I think it's he's just such a an old winger, in terms of the era. He's probably playing in the wrong era, because when he debuted for Penrith, he was just lightning quick, but he never had a carry, and that's why Taylor May took a spot in that Penrith team, and ultimately why they let him go, because he was on a lot of money, because he was a promising junior, but he just didn't have that yardage play that you need to be a winger these days. And then we signed him. And I feel kind of bad, because I think he actually put on a few, a fair, but not a fair bit of weight, but a little bit of weight to try and help with that yardage game, which actually probably cost him a little bit of speed. So what he was really, really good at, to the point where I don't really think we ever saw him in really clear space where he just burnt someone on the outside for us. And that's probably the fact that, he had Brandon Wakeham, playing 7 as opposed to Nathan Cleary. But it is a little bit sad, because he's definitely that debut for Penrith was something special, just in terms of the speed he had, and I'm sure it's still there, but it's just sad to see that we haven't really been able to take advantage of it while he's been at the Tigers.
Yeah, I think he'd do very well over in the Super League, sort of Bevan French has done, where that speed might sort of set him apart. I'll fire straight back to you, Declan, and then Nick can chime in if he's got a thought on this. But Kai Pearce-Paul, speaking of the Knights, he's off contract at the end of this year. He he is available to sign. He is a back rower. What are your thoughts? Should he be a target?
Yeah, I think that if you look at, I think in terms of like a club, I think that our preference would be always to promote from within. But at the moment, we don't really have anyone that's ready to take that that right edge second row spot off of Alex Seyfarth, which is a bit of a problem. So therefore, I do think we need to go to the open market. And I think that he is the best option in terms of that player that, like, he's kind of similar to that Terrell, like that age bracket where he's still got his best footy ahead of him. He's shown he's got like first grade ability, but he's still got the footy ahead of him where he's going to improve. I think his stay at the Knights has been a little bit injury run. So from that perspective, I could see why they'd be keen to maybe re-sign him on less money, which is why he's probably going to go to the open market. Because I think he would be on quite good coin at Newcastle. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of money he's after from us. I think that could be a deciding factor on who he goes to next. So, but if we can come to the right dollar amount, then I'd be stoked to have him, because he's that classic modern day rangy back rower who you can give like the ball to in space early, kind of like Olaquadu, not as much obviously because Olaquadu is best in the comp at it, but he can just wreak havoc and he can kind of just create something out of nothing. And he can also play left or right as well, Ed. So he's got that versatility. And I think that just having like someone like him playing outside of Galvin, that would be really good to see. And I hope that we can, I hope we do sign him. And then we can also move Seyfarth back to the middle. So I think that we also strengthen up that area as well. So it makes a lot of sense as long as the dollar amount is, it adds up.
Yeah.
Good player, 24 years old. Just a quick Google search told me he's 6'5", so he's pretty rangy. It'd certainly be a good addition in our back row, and we definitely need a specialist back rower. Yeah, Alex Seyfarth, he's trying hard, but as we've said, you're good to get Big Red back into the prop rotation in some way, but definitely wouldn't say no to Pierce Paul. He's a good player.
Yeah, I think if he just had like a real good run with injuries, I think that Newcastle probably would be a bit more keen to keep him, I think. But yeah, I think that he's definitely got the class. He's an England international. And I saw him he was, when I was playing over in England, he was with the London Broncos at the time. And, everyone just thought he was a gun there. He ended up signing for Wigan. And he did really well for them. I think he might have won a comp for them as well. And he just had, kind of like Will Price, who also signed with Newcastle, just hasn't quite nailed expectations yet. But I do think that he's got the potential to, and I really hope. It's just, I don't know, part of me is just as someone from the UK, why would you sign for Canberra? Why would you move half across the world from a place that's terrible weather to move to a place
with even worse weather?
Nowhere, even worse weather. I don't get it, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll wait and see. Hopefully, that's the thing, is we never know now with the negotiations that are going on if it's a complete furphy and it's a media beat up or there is something to it. But hey, if any quality back rower that comes on the market, surely West Tigers have got to be looking at him, because that's the deficiency. Albeit, I thought Suka played well off the bench for only, I think, his second game. I thought he accounted for himself quite well. So, and there's some raps on him within the club, so we'll see what happens there. The ambush is going to be back for this game against the Knights. The function on when we play the Knights up in Newcastle, and that's going to be at the West Leagues Club in Ashfield. So make sure you get along to the ambush event. And I've been on the train a couple of times past West Leagues Club the last couple of days, and I look at the building every time I go past, and I ask the people at West Ashfield, with all due respect, can you please update your signs? Because the West Tigers emblem that you've got on the side of the building is, well, it's already half cut off and it's combined with a Magpies jersey, which never looked right to start with, but it's got the claws and everything. It's out of date. Take some pride in your club and update your signs. You've got the money, guys, do it. You can put your West Magpies, you could put the Balmain Tigers, but put the up-to-date West Tigers logo up there. Declan.
Maybe the claw's coming back and they just don't want to change it because they know that they're going to revert back to the old signature.
We went for
the old logo.
22 years and not one person did the claw on the field when we had the claws on the emblem. They get rid of the claws on the emblem, and now we've got guys that are doing the claws. And hey, I'm all for the claws coming back. I think Nick's in agreement. Bring back the claws.
Yeah, I don't mind the claws. I actually don't mind your logo, Joel, the West Tigers podcast logo.
Yeah, it's got a big
that's
claw
a
in it.
real. It's a tiger with big claws.
Exactly. And you know the most important reason why we need to bring the claws back? Because Gary's anti the claws. So let's start a campaign. Bring back the claws.
He also hates Santa Claus.
Thank you, boys. Good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas.